Let's jump right into this. Today, we are taking a really close look at the spectrum of struggle, specifically distinguishing between laziness and depression. Now, if you've ever felt totally stuck, completely unmotivated, and found yourself wondering, wait, am I just being lazy right now, or is there actually something much deeper going on? Well, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to clear up that confusing and honestly really painful blur between a temporary lack of motivation and actual clinical depression. Let's unpack the psychology behind what you might be experiencing.
So, let's start with a question I think we can all relate to. Have you ever just wanted to be lazy? I mean, seriously, think about those days where literally all you want to do is stay in bed, pull the covers right up over your head, ignore every single responsibility, and do absolutely nothing. I know I have. We've all had our off days, right? We've all felt unmotivated and, just kind of uninspired from time to time. And the fundamental truth we need to establish right out of the gate is that it is completely 100% normal to feel like that sometimes.
But before we dive any deeper into the nuances here, I do need to give a quick but crucial disclaimer. This explainer is strictly for educational purposes and should not be used to diagnose yourself or anyone else. If you or someone you know is struggling right now, please reach out to a mental health professional who can actually help. Our goal here today is just to educate and empower you with information, to give you a clearer lens to look through, basically, not to act as a substitute for real medical advice. Okay, let's get into it.
Section 1. The hustle culture trap. Guilt in a competitive world. We live in a society that is just hyper-focused on non-stop productivity, which often makes us feel incredibly guilty for simply resting. But what if your laziness is actually more than just feeling burnt out?
Section 2. Mood and lost interest. When nothing brings you joy. Usually, if you're just burnt out, a solid nap or some good comfort food snaps you right back. But depression? That brings a heavy, unexplained sadness where absolutely nothing seems to cheer you up.
Clinically speaking, the American Psychological Association defines one of the absolute hallmarks of a depressive episode as a markedly diminished interest or pleasure in activities. So what this means in plain English is that if your so-called laziness has caused you to completely lose motivation and interest in everything, and I'm talking about school, work, even the hobbies you used to love the absolute most, that is a huge flashing warning sign that something is seriously wrong with your mental health. You aren't just taking a well-deserved break, you're actually emotionally withdrawing from the people and things around you. You prefer to just stay home and lie in bed because you simply can't find it in yourself to care enough about much of anything anymore.
Section 3. Functioning and unseen triggers. The breakdown of everyday life. We've looked at the internal emotional toll, but we also have to look at the external impacts. Basically, is your lack of motivation actively getting in the way of your ability to function?
Psychologists actually use a really specific clinical framework to evaluate this, known as the 4 Ds of abnormality. They look for deviance, distress, danger, and dysfunction. So if your laziness is making you severely dysfunctional, meaning it significantly interferes with your everyday tasks and feels like this constant, impassable hurdle in your life, well then it might be time to see a mental health care professional about it. I mean, severe dysfunction is a massive dividing line between just needing a lazy weekend off and experiencing a true clinical depressive episode. But all of this naturally leads us to ask, what actually brings about depression? If laziness is often brought on by working way too hard or maybe lacking some self-esteem or discipline, what triggers a depressive episode to begin with?
The stark reality is, psychologists don't really know. There's actually a profound mystery behind the onset of this illness. While we can almost always pinpoint exactly why we feel lazy on a given Tuesday, depression is an entirely different beast. We do know for sure that it isn't usually triggered by just one particular thing. There isn't always a clear, logical reason for why depression might just suddenly develop and take hold of your life.
When you compare the triggers side by side, the contrast is incredibly sharp. Laziness often manifests as procrastination, right? And that's usually rooted in a lack of self-esteem, a lack of positive recognition, or simply just poor discipline. You can almost always trace it back to a source. Depression, however, often has no clear reason or specific trigger at all. You can find yourself completely disheartened, feeling super down, and utterly drained of energy, practically out of nowhere. That abrupt, untriggered shift, that's a major indicator.
Section 4. The illusion of choice. You can't just snap out of it. It's absolutely crucial that we address the incredibly harmful misconception that if you're struggling, you just aren't trying hard enough. Look, we've all heard the classic steps for curing laziness. Step 1, make a to-do list. Step 2, listen to motivational talks. Step 3, set achievable goals. And hey, if you're just feeling unmotivated from pushing too hard, these productivity hacks actually work wonderfully. You can rest, brainstorm, find some inspiration, and use these tips to climb right out of a funk. But with depression, it is simply not that easy. Depression is a serious mental illness. Those nifty little productivity hacks are entirely ineffective against it. You literally cannot just shake it off or get over it, no matter what anybody tries to tell you.
The difference in the actual lived experience here is profound. Laziness is ultimately a choice. It's a state you have the agency to alter with a little bit of rest and inspiration. But when you have depression, you are not making the choice to be or stay depressed. Actually, patients routinely report profound feelings of extreme guilt, deep shame, and total helplessness due to their condition. They feel terrible that they can't function normally. It is absolutely not a conscious, lazy choice to stay in bed.
It is absolutely vital to remember this quote. No one with depression is ever just doing it for attention. Mental illness goes so much deeper than that. It's not a moral failing. It's not a lack of willpower. And it's certainly not a desire to be difficult. It is a genuine medical condition that completely alters a person's ability to engage with their own life. We really have to separate the stigma of being lazy from the severe reality of depression.
Section 5. Seeking professional help. Moving forward with professional support. Identifying these subtle differences between a temporary slump and a serious mental health issue is the vital first step.
Let's use this as a sort of mental checklist. As you can see, while laziness is just a temporary funk, depression often involves recurring episodes throughout your life. Laziness usually points back to things like stress or lack of sleep, but depression's triggers, often completely unknown. And, most importantly, while you can absolutely snap out of laziness with inspiration and productivity hacks, depression requires real, proper treatment. We're talking months of dedicated therapy and medication to help you truly cope and heal.
So I want to leave you with this final vital question. Can you relate to any of the signs we've talked about in this explainer? Take a quiet moment to truly self-reflect on that. If the lack of motivation feels totally inescapable, triggered by absolutely nothing, and completely immune to every productivity hack out there, please reach out to a mental health care professional and get the help you deserve. You do not have to navigate this spectrum of struggle alone. As we close out today, just ask yourself, are you just resting or are you withdrawing? Thank you so much for joining me. Keep learning and please take care of yourselves out there.